Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and infinite glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahawah Chakwadash. Double honors the apostles and elders, a great millstone of GMS who teach and rule well, in peace and salutations to the hopeful elect, pushing this gospel amongst the four winds with truth and sincerity. To you I say Shalom. All right, this is your brother Paratham with a quick lesson. I'm going to jump into Baruch, going into how we forsook the Lord, all right, the law, statutes, and commandments, and took on the likeness and cultures of the heathen, these other nations. All right, so we're just going to jump right into it. It's Baruch 1. I'm going to start at 15 as I got it highlighted on down in the KJV. It says, and ye shall say to the Lord, our power, Yahweh, belongeth righteousness, but unto us the confusion of faces. As it is come to pass this day of them, unto them of Judah, and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. So the confusion of faces of what? Right? We have been scattered, and it's going to get into it, I believe, in the second chapter. But we have been scattered. Yeah, it says it right here, Baruch 2 and 4. We'll get there, right, Lord willing. But we've been scattered among the nations, the heathen nations, ultimately our servants, right, as a punishment for forsaking the law, statutes, and commandments, forsaking the Heavenly Father in His name and His only begotten Son. Okay, so, hey, we still feeling that heat. Verse 16, it says, and to our kings, and to our princes, and our priests, and our prophets, and to our fathers, for we have sinned before the Lord, and disobeyed him, and we have not hearkened unto the voice of the Lord, our power, to walk in the commandments that he gave us openly. It was clear on Mount Sinai. He gave our ancestors, and we wrote that contract in blood, man. Right? So because we went off, now we have the confusion of faces. We look like the other nations. We sound like them. We walk like them. We dress like them. All right? These are the Israelite foreigners, or the Gentiles. It's two different definitions. Right? The Israelites that look like the other nations. Then you have the Gentiles, which are the literal Gentiles, the heathens, our servants. Every nation outside of Israel. Right? And there's even an Israel within Israel. Lord willing, we are that number. This is for you Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, Seminole, West Indians, and Haitians. All right? We come from a legendary bloodline. We are God's chosen people that the Bible speaks of, the apple of the Lord's eye. Right? This is our punishment. But our warfare is almost accomplished. Let's finish on. Because I don't, people have a short attention span. It says, verse 19, since the day that the Lord brought our forefathers out of the land of Egypt until this present day, we have been disobedient unto the Lord our power, and we have been negligent in not hearing his voice. Right, so what happened? Wherefore the evils cleave unto us, and the curse. What curse? That's Deuteronomy 28, Moses 15 on down to 68. It says, which the Lord appointed by Moses his servant at the time that he brought our fathers out of the land of Egypt, to give us a land that floweth with milk and honey, like as it is to see this day. Nevertheless, we have not hearkened unto the voice of the Lord our power, according to all the words of the prophets whom he sent us. Right, because his secret is with his servants unto the prophets, the secrets, the warnings. Right, the Lord's literal word. Right, his mouthpiece. And our people forsook him. They misused the prophets. They tortured them. They killed them. They crucified Yahweh Shai. Right? It be your own folks, literally. That's biblical. Right? So it's at verse 22. It says, but every man followed the imagination of his own wicked heart, to serve strange gods and to do evil in the sight of the Lord our power, which is why we are being punished. Let's jump right over to the right side. Baruch chapter 2 and 1 in the NL Slaki and the GNT, the Good News Translation. It says, so the Lord carried out a threat he had made against us, against our judges, our kings, our rulers, and the people of Israel and Judah. What was that threat? Deuteronomy 28, 1 and 15, 1 through 15 was that if we were to follow the law, statutes, and commandments, that it'll be blessings upon blessings upon blessings, and that, everything good. But clearly we weren't ready for that. Deuteronomy 28:15 on down to 68 goes into the warnings of what would happen if we didn't follow the law, statutes, and commandments, if we didn't hearken unto the voice of the Lord. There's prophets. All right, verse 2. Nowhere else on earth have such things happened as happened in Jerusalem when the Lord carried out the threats that, Salakia, nowhere else on earth have such things happened as happened in Jerusalem when the Lord carried out the threats written in the law of Moses. And you know what? This reminds me of, real quick, that's Daniel. Daniel 7. No, Daniel 9 and 12. Salakia. Real quick. Daniel 9 and 12. And he hath confirmed his words, which he spake against us and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil. For under the whole heaven hath not been done as hath been done upon Jerusalem. What is Daniel talking about? Daniel's talking about the curses. We heard what Baruch just said, and this is a new gem. Call Allah Yahbashim Yahushai. Right? I take the meat and lead a bone with these different versions of the scriptures. But hey, Baruch 2 and 2 in the GNT again. Nowhere else on earth have such things happened as happened in Jerusalem when the Lord carried out the threats written in the law of Moses, the curses of Deuteronomy. Verse 3, things were so bad that we even ate the flesh of our own sons and daughters. The Lord scattered our people. Confusion of faces. We just read that in Baruch 1 and 15. The Lord scattered our people, handing us over to the control of the nations around us, the heathens. Right? For in generations and upon generations, we bred with them. Right? We started to blend in with them. Right? Each generation started to look more and more like the nations that they were around. Continuing in 4. And they looked on us with reproach and horror. So they hated us. We are in a land surrounded by enemies, man. We're POWs, prisoners of war. Right? That's why it says in Matthew, when it says that I send you in the midst of sheep. I send you as sheep in the midst of wolves, therefore be wise as serpent and harmless as doves, right? Roughly paraphrasing verse 5. It says, we sinned against the Lord our power and refused to obey him. Therefore our nation was conquered instead of burdened with guilt. Not because these other nations were stronger than us. Not because they were smarter than us. Not because they outnumbered us. And they did outnumber us. But why were we overthrown? Because we sinned against our Lord. We refused to obey him. And that's how we were conquered. And this is milk, man. This is continuing in 5. Instead of being victorious. So we were conquered instead of being victorious. Verse 6. The Lord our power is always righteous, but we and our ancestors are still burdened with our guilt. Even though the Lord punished us as he had threatened, we still did not turn to him and pray that we would abandon our evil thoughts. We did not obey him or live by his just command. So the Lord brought on us all the punishments he had kept ready for us. So he had reserved punishment, just like he got reserved punishment for these other nations. Pursuing, what's that, Psalms 73? Going into that reserve judgment. The dregs, what's that, Psalm 73? It's 73 or 78. Nope. 75. Call all Yahbashim Psalm 75. And verse 8, from the hand of the Lord Yahweh there is a cup, and the wine is red, and it is full of mixture, and he poureth out of the same. But the dregs thereof, all the wicked of the earth shall wring them out and drink them. And that word dregs goes into reserved judgment. Reserved. Something reserved. Right? So that's the judgment that the Lord has reserved for these nations. The wicked are reserved for the day of wrath, for the day of destruction. Now let's jump back to Baruch 2 in the KJV. I'm going to finish. Hold on. All right, just back in Baruch 2 and 7. Even though the Lord punished us as he had threatened, we still, Salakia, we read all that. All right, let's jump down. Okay, let's jump down to Baruch 2 and 29 in the KJV. It says, if you will not hear my voice, surely this very great multitude shall be turned into a small number among the nations, where I will scatter them. For I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people. But in the land of their captivities they shall remember themselves. In the land of captivity they shall remember themselves. And at GNT it says, but when you are taken into exile into another land, you will come to your senses. Then you will realize that I am the Lord, your power, and I will give you a desire to know and a mind which to understand. I'm going to just finish this off, right? It's beautiful. It says, and there in the land of your exile, you will praise me and remember me. You will stop being so stubborn and wicked, for you will remember what happened to your ancestors when they sinned against the Lord. Then I will bring you back in the land, to the land that I solemnly promised to give to your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and it will be yours again. I will increase your population, and you will never be again reduced to a small number. I will make an everlasting covenant with you, and I will be your power, and you will be my people. I will never again remove you, the people of Israel, from the land that I gave you. All right, it's your pa. So with that, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and infinite glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahawah Hakwadash. Double honors the apostles and elders, a great millstone, the GMS will teach and rule well, and peace and salutation to the hopeful elect. Kwam Yasharal and Baba Ball. Shalom.